What is up, Wizards fans? Welcome to another Believe in Wizards podcast. I'm Matt Modderno. He's Jahadi White, and this is Believe in Wizards. Like we said, we're going to talk about the Wizards, and it's been kind of the spectrum of games here in the last couple weeks or last couple days since we talked. They had a close loss to the 76ers, Jahadi, and I thought they looked really good, and then they came out flat and listless against Brooklyn and got their asses kicked. Is that what just we're in for the rest of the season here? Like, look good some nights, look terrible some nights. I just kind of that was surprising to me. They look so flat.
We did look flat against Brooklyn. And Brooklyn's a team that just is a great perimeter team, though. I mean, as far as they just move the ball around the perimeter so many different ways. So we didn't look the best against Brooklyn. It was more to me, it's the perimeter defense, but also Brooklyn kept getting 1 foot in the paint every time. So the paint touches are just ridiculous. You know, even if there's paint to even pitch back out, so a lot of times it's the paint and the help guys not really helping. They're getting all the way to the rim. That's major to me as far as just too many paint touches with us and just perimeter defense and closeouts. Brooklyn is a team that is a high percentage three-point shooting team. You have to close out.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I felt like the Wizards' sort of lack of overall athleticism was on display in this game. Like Brooklyn just looked more athletic in sort of every way, but you could make the same argument about Philly, and they hung in there too. So I think a lot of this maybe just comes down to effort sometimes.
I think the argument with Philly may be different though.
Yeah, just talent and size, maybe more than just straight athleticism, I guess. But
true, but if you were watching the Philly game, if you were really watching that Philly game, they didn't play any defense. Philly didn't play defense.
Yeah, that is also true. Yeah,
like they literally said we're not going to play defense the first half of the game.
Yeah,
let's just stick around, and then mid third quarter, let's just put it on. Let's start playing defense, and then that's because we can hang in the game until third quarter without having to exert ourselves with defense. Exert ourselves defensively that bad. Joel didn't play a lick of defense not until the third quarter that he started playing.
Shockingly, Gafford had one of his best offensive games of the year. Go figure.
Right after getting hurt.
Yeah, it's true.
Right now, as far as Brooklyn goes, it was rebounding too. It was one possession in the second quarter that Brooklyn literally got 4 chances at the basket because of the offensive, defensive, rebounding effort, right? Just like it's just ridiculous. So it's just a lot of things, but the major you got to realize, like with the team, with our team this season, we never have won the rebounding competition in any team. We always were the lower rebounding team. I think that's major. So now we're not, even when we're sinking offensively, we're not really getting a lot of offensive rebounds to get second chance opportunities at the hoop.
Yeah, I agree. I think every team in the NBA, you see at least a couple possessions a game. Somebody gets the offensive rebound, they kick it out for a wide open three. I just can't remember that many of those for the Wizards. Maybe I'm wired to block out the good things, but it just feels like they get a lot less of those plays than every other team gets against them.
It is. It's true. Because we're not getting long rebounds.
Yeah. The guards don't rebound at all. Yeah.
Right. I mean, now this league now it's either 3-pointers or layups or drives, right? No, not too many 15-footers or anything in the league because it's a lower percentage shot, right? So it's a lot of long rebounds in this league now, right? So just Gafford and Kuzma can't get every rebound under the basket. Those perimeter players, Tyus and Poole, Denny, they have to really start rebounding. Well, Denny is not a bad rebounder, but they have to really, chase down those long rebounds.
Yeah. No, they need more help there, and that's the one nice thing about the Brooklyn game was Coulibaly really helped out on the rebounding side. Had a career best 10 months. I think I saw The youngest Wizard ever to record a double-double at 19 years old. Or 19 years and 135 days old. So that's pretty cool. But they really needed his help along the way. So we hopefully see more of that from him throughout the course of the year here.
I think he's only going to get better.
Before we get too far into this, guys, tease and rolling with the NFL in full stride and the NBA and NHL hitting mid-season form. BetOnline is your number one destination for all your sports wagering info. With up-to-the-minute sports wagers, news, odds, trends, and predictions, BetOnline is the top spot for everything pro and amateur sports, and not just the big four. BetOnline has your info available at your fingertips with both desktop and mobile access for anyone, almost any time that any sport is played, from MMA to international soccer. Head to BetOnline today and use our promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, for 50% off on your welcome deposit on your first welcome bonus on your first deposit. This is where we're at with the Wizard season here. So, Jahadi, I got a question for you real quick about this Philly game. Joel Embiid had 50 points and 12 rebounds, and we talked about not playing much defense overall. I thought Gafford tried. It wasn't like a total lack of effort. He put up some resistance. Did you ever have a game where you felt like you played a guy pretty hard and guarded him really well, and it just didn't matter, and he still had a big game? Any performances like that come to mind?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. It was usually those games against a guy like Alonzo Mourning or Shaq.
Mm-hmm.
Or, believe it or not, Eldon Campbell. I don't know if you remember him.
I do remember Eldon. He had some nights, man.
He just had an awkward game.
Mm-hmm.
And you felt like, you were doing a good job, and it seemed like you're working really, really hard, and you're putting forth the best effort, and you're working your butt off. And he's putting just nowhere near as much effort as you, and just getting easy shots, easy attempts. But it's always usually against those vets who understands how to work smarter, not harder.
I got you.
Right. So, and you could tell Embiid just figured it out. Like, hey, I can get 50 without exerting a lot of energy out here. Yeah. You notice he does. He's like, I know I can get at least 10 from the free throw. I can get some 3-pointers. He's barely going to the basket.
Yeah.
So,
he had a few give me cleanups.
And he was like, I'm not going to put a lot of effort in the defense until it's time to win the game.
Yep. Yeah, that was 100% sure. You nailed the theme of that Nets game from the beginning with the defense. And Tyus Jones summed it up. Ava Wallace, Washington Post, had this quote, but it was Ty said, "Our effort just wasn't there defensively. You can't do that. We've done that a number of times this year, and you've got to grow up in that area and learn from it." I thought that was a, pot calling the kettle black kind of situation here, because I thought he got roasted on the perimeter. So, yeah. I mean, maybe he was putting in effort, but it wasn't showing much from a results perspective. So,
no, it didn't.
It's tough coming from him after that performance is all.
Well, yeah. You wonder if he really means it, if it's just something he just regurgitating that was something that was talked about in the locker room.
Right. Honestly, felt that way.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, especially a guy like Tyus, you expect him to, at this point in his career, he has to know that for him to go to another level, he has to be a defensive player too. At least when you look at that and say, okay, he's respecting the defense, he's trying. I mean, if Jordan Poole wasn't on the team, Tyus would just look like he didn't care about perimeter defense at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Do you think they look just worse individually because they're together? Like, if either of them was next to a better perimeter defender, would they look less bad because they'd have somebody kind of backing them up a little bit?
I think it's accountability.
Yeah.
It's accountability.
With each other?
They look terrible because they're together. Because, I mean, you can't see it's like the best of the worst. Defensive-wise, perimeter-wise, on defensive end. But then it's accountability. Our best perimeter defense guy is a rookie.
Right.
So how much accountability can he hold, right? To
Sure.
hold them accountable. How much can he hold them accountable?
Mm-hmm.
So then Denny, the next one is what? Denny's what, 21?
22. Yeah.
22?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it starts off just with accountability, and now I'm starting to feel like it's affecting the offensive end too. The reason saying is, even though we were close in the game with Brooklyn, now guys are saying, okay, and it's usually the guys who are playing the least defense are now trying to be more aggressive offensive.
Yeah.
Now we're not in sync as we were, even though we were losing games. But started seeing us becoming in sync, moving the ball. It was a lot of great ball movement out there. It was a lot of scoring because of the ball movement, and everybody gets involved. Now it's becoming a one-on-one game again.
Yeah, which was surprising. It just, like we talked about this the last time, it was like it felt like we were really moving in a positive direction. I just, and it happens some nights you're not going to have it. Like everybody's got one of those kind of stinkers in them, or it's a schedule loss or whatever. But I thought going to the Nets game, like, I think we've been pretty good on the show about like, all right, what kind of Wizards team are we going to see on this particular night based on the schedule, most recent game. We've kind of called our shots pretty well here. That was one where I thought they would perform better, especially with the like Spencer Dinwiddie, Kyle Kuzma animosity there. Like I thought we'd be kind of like pumped up to show him something, and just out of the gate, I was like, this is not going to end well tonight.
Yeah, it would look flat. Yeah, out of the gate, what was 3 turnovers right out of the gate?
Yeah, it was really sloppy to start out, and never really got much better, honestly.
No, it didn't, and it became a one-on-one game. Everybody pretty much was going for himself. Mm-hmm. I did like to see Coulibaly, Bilal, be a little more aggressive and a little bit more selfish though.
That one midi pull up that he had, like the Wizards Twitter is like freaking out about like that.
Right.
It's sort of like ISO play. I'm like, we want more of those.
Now we need him to be a little more selfish, because he's the ultimate team player.
Yep.
Right. But he can be effective, and you see every game, you see something different you never seen before. Like, oh, he can do that too. Oh, he can do that too. Right.
Yeah, I want to see those every time.
Right, so we need you to be more effective, more aggressive.
Yeah. In the chat, it never makes no sense. Said, am I crazy for being really happy with the individual players' improvement this year? Yes, you are crazy for that. No, certain players.
Not crazy.
No, I like Coulibaly specifically. Yeah, individual players. Not every individual player, but certain ones I think for sure have shown some growth. I wouldn't say everybody's playing better this year, but Coulibaly for sure is a bright spot.
Denny's
been great. I think
Shamit, even though I don't think it's.
Is that growth, or that's just kind of he is who he is at this point?
Well, it's a difference between how he was playing. I get it.
Yeah,
it's a great question. Is it growth because we're just seeing Shamit as finally being Shamit, right?
Right. I think
but we haven't seen that.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I mean, Gafford, I thought has trended up.
Gafford, yep.
I don't feel like I've seen much growth from Corey Kispert overall. Like he's a little more aggressive.
I don't think he gets his new position. I don't think he gets a chance to grow.
Yeah, I think some of that could definitely be role and usage.
Right, his new roles. Now when he goes out, he kind of just he's more like pressing. He's just pressing to make something happen. It's not freedom of growth position now.
No, I agree. This is actually a good segue, because these are a couple of the things I want to talk about today. And it was just, we've had 20 games. It's a good opportunity to kind of reevaluate and just talk about what we really want to see from them for the next 20 games. So let's just start on like the individual player front. Are there any guys that you feel like need to step up and have the ability to step up that we haven't seen it from so far? So the guys we were just talking about have made some impressive individual growth. Is there someone that hasn't shown that yet that just really needs to?
So I have this guy I'm gonna choose has shown growth.
Okay.
And with growth is saying, okay, what's the standard? What are we comparing him to, right? Him being better than he was, or being, where he can be, what's his potential wise, or where. I still think Gafford can really step up more, even though, and I've been hard on him, even though he has shown some growth. He's much better rim protector now, actually putting the ball in the basket now.
Sure.
Sometimes a much better defender, actually post defender or in the help position. He can still help a lot. He can still off the ball. He can still step up a lot. So I think he can still be. I think he can be much better rebounder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think what he's learning like the typical NBA game, which I don't, where let me save myself to be able to get my stats. He's learning that, and is more effective now getting the stats. He's blocking shots outside of his man, mostly on this guy, but he needs to be a more help defender, blocking, right? Stopping drives. When somebody get their foot in the paint, he's already there early. He's not there, right? Yeah. Being able to catch more, he's actually doing a much better job of that. Not only just getting alley-oops. Now they can drop it sometime. He'll get a quick shot. I seen him shoot a jumper the other day. It looked very nice, but I still think he's a guy who can grow that I would like to see.
He's still pretty young. Was he 24, 25? Like, I mean, this is not an old dude.
Yeah. And he can be more effective with the team that can grow within the team.
Yeah, I think so too. What I'm going to have, and I don't know, anyone listening to this is probably expecting one of us to say Jordan Poole, but I'm going to go Deni Avdija, and I don't want the Deni Avdija stance to take this the wrong way. I mean it as a positive. I think the growth he's shown this year, we could actually get more from him. Like if he's more confident with the jumper and that allows him to put the ball on the floor more and create for others. This last couple games prior to this last one, which was just sort of an overall stinker, when Deni had been more integral to facilitating the offense, I thought they looked their best when it was him and Kuzma getting other guys involved. I'd like to see more of that along the way. I think now Kuzma's done it for 8, 9 games straight of really emphasizing that. Deni, it's been the last 2, 3, 4. I think that needs to be something that they really, impress upon him to kind of focus on. We want to see you try to create for guys. I don't even care if it's just simple dribble handoff kind of stuff. It just, when more guys touch the ball, they seem to be much better offensively. And I think he's a guy that can kind of push the envelope with that a little bit.
And I think what you and I are saying when we consider it growth, considering growth for the long term.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
Right? So we're looking at guys like a Gafford, a Denny, a Coulibaly, right? As far as for growth for the long term. You can easily say Poole, you can easily say Kuzma, but not only they're typical, you may not be able to build around them for the long term.
I agree. Yeah, they probably, honestly, I know some of these guys are getting a little salty about this kind of stuff, being traded all the time, but they're probably both not here for the long term. It's just the nature of the league and their contracts and where we're at. So those are the 3 guys we just talked about are more likely to be here. Kispert's probably another one who could find himself here for another couple years at least.
Yeah.
Chai, there was a billboard that the Monumental Sports put up the other day, and it had Poole, Kuzma, Gafford, Deni, and Corey Kispert on it. And Hoop District tweeted it out, and Tyus Jones was in the comments. And the caption of the picture basically said, is it saying something or foreshadowing that Tyus Jones isn't on the billboard here? And Tyus Jones posted all these shocked emojis below it. And I think realistically, if you're the Wizards, you want to reuse that billboard for multiple years. And those are the guys that are under contract long-term. Tyus is an expiring contract at the end of the year. I don't think that's a slight to him. It's just playing the percentages here that if someone moves, there's a good chance it could be him. And, I mean, he's just not under a long-term deal. So I don't know, as a player, like, I don't think that would be the one I'd choose to be offended about personally, but yeah, I guess it is what it is.
No, I don't think he should be offended by it. And he's a new point guard, right?
Yeah.
He serves a role, right? But you got to know those pretty much are the biggest names on the team right now.
Right. Yeah,
Those pretty much, most of those are the biggest contracts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So most teams market their big contract guys,
right?
And that's just is what it is. And and they'll put that billboard up there tomorrow and be talking about trades the next day.
For sure.
So it's tough as a player when you do see that and you say, okay, they're not considering me as this guy. It's not always the case.
Yeah. I mean, Coulibaly's not up there either, and he's like maybe the only guy that expects to definitely.
If anybody, he should be up there.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just stupid from the marketing department, and I wouldn't read too much into that from anyone.
And then most of those have been long-term players.
Sure.
See, most of those have been players.
Pool's the only new face on that group.
Right, Pool's the only new face.
Yeah.
Right. So not only that, they're kind of giving you players that you're already comfortable with and used to.
Exactly. Yeah. As fans, these are guys I'm most likely to recognize across multiple years. That's a great point. In the chat, Cam asked, do you think Kuzma gets moved January 15th when he's eligible to be traded? I don't. I actually think he's the guy most likely of that sort of veteran tier-ish player to be here, at least for another year or so.
I don't think he gets moved that fast. I think that they're questioning if Jordan Poole is that franchise guy, that guy you can build anything around, that cornerstone guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the big question mark.
I think they would move him from what they've seen if they could. It's just, will they be able to get value back? Yeah.
Well, not because he does some good things, but not because of the good things, just because of the narrative is becoming very bad out there.
That's true.
And it's mostly because of Poole. I mean, now that it's almost affecting Kuzma's value because of the 1-2 punch, right?
Yep.
You don't want to be. You don't want to be the laughing stock.
I've seen a lot more tweets that say this Kuzma Jordan Poole duo is terrible together, and it's like, well, when you play all of your minutes next to a guy and one of them is that bad, it's gonna sink your net rating and all these kinds of things. And to me,
if I'm Kuzma, I'm going to the front office.
Yeah, trying to distance yourself from that.
I got to last in this league, man. I actually have a passion for this game. I like the NBA. I like my job.
Yeah.
Right?
The fan narrative is starting to change. There's a lot more Kuzma, bad stats, bad team, or good stats, bad team kind of guy, like empty stats, that kind of stuff. And it's like the offense usually looks like dog shit when he's not out there. So I don't know that you can watch this team and not think like he moves the needle for them. Now, do you think he's worth keeping long-term is like a totally fair question, but one of them has been a net negative, and I don't think it's Kyle Kuzma. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. I don't know. At this moment, I don't know if they're both long-term guys for the future of the team.
Yeah.
But I know one affects the other.
Mm-hmm. I think one affects everybody on the team too. It's just, that's been tough. Yeah. I don't know. They've got to figure something out.
You can only make so many excuses for a guy.
Yeah, right. We're 20 games in now.
For a guy, he say, "Look, man, this is not working."
Mm-hmm.
How professional is he going to become?
Yeah.
Is
he going to become a team guy? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, will he become a team guy? Will he ever care about defense?
Doesn't seem like that so far.
Right. Will he take this game seriously?
Yeah.
Will he take the team seriously? Will he take the direction from the coaching seriously? Listen, I get it. But if I'm a guy, if I know I'm also, and I don't think he even realized he's on the line. He's straddling the line. He's like, I got my money. I don't care. I don't know if that's the case.
I think that's the problem, is he seems kind of like oblivious to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, see, yeah, completely oblivious. Right?
It gives me Kyrie vibes a little bit. I was saying this the other day, and they asked him after practice about playing through nights where he struggles from the field. And he said, the shots that I'm shooting in the game are the shots that I shoot in practice.
Right.
I just have to continue to be aggressive because it helps our team. I think everybody knows my shot is going to come. I would love to ask his teammates if they think the shots he's throwing up in practice are actually like convertible in games. Because I think you see some of the faces sometimes when he shoots, and it's like, he's the no yes guy.
If you shooting shit in practice, don't mean now it's shit either way.
Right, exactly. You might make more of them in practice.
Just because you're making in practice don't mean it's not a shit shot.
Right.
Right. So don't mean it's not a So my thing is, the problem is no one's stopping that shot in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So now he's comfortable in the game. The only thing that I've seen him really effective, was getting downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's so fast. He gets downhill, gets to the rim, and he can score. He can score against rim defenders. Yeah. If it's just getting downhill and jumping, it's just the layups.
Mm-hmm.
When it's those crazy shots, the quick shots and all that, man, it just hurts the team. It hurts a good possession, a serious possession.
Yeah. It affects the next couple possessions and everybody else's defense too. I think he has been like worse than I expected on like wide open catch and shoots and things like that. Like those things I think will even out, to his point maybe, but you're not helping yourself by taking worse shots. I'd love to see him try to get to the line. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. Just get a few freebies and get yourself going. Like work your way out. Don't start with your first shot attempt as a 25-footer. Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Just some hurl, like a quick hurl shot. It's just a 25-foot hurl.
Yeah.
Or turn around, something crazy. Like you're hurting your teammates.
Mm-hmm.
You're hurting their value.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it just, you got almost no shot.
Like that's the most person that can get violent. You start messing with guys' value.
Right. I mean,
now you mess with their families.
I mean, we may have seen some of that in his previous destination. Like now, maybe we're seeing some of where that came from. I still don't think hauling off and hitting the guy is the right move, but at a certain point, maybe if that didn't get through to you, I don't know what is. So
I don't think hauling off and hitting the guy on camera is the right move.
Right, exactly.
But if you played in NBA long enough, you probably should have waited to the locker room. But
where there's definitely no cameras. We know practice is being recorded.
The lack of unprofessionalism and the lack of how he doesn't take the game serious. If he voices that same sentiment as the same way he plays, a person who takes this game a certain way, that's going to eat him alive.
I think so too. All right. So to summarize here, I think we'd like to see a more serious Poole. We'd like to see more aggressive Bilal and Denny. We'd like to see better rebounding and continued ball movement. I think we just made this team like 5 wins better than they are right now, if any of those things come through.
If we do 2 out of the 4 or 2 out of 5, we have much more wins under our belt because we've been in close games.
Yep. Finding a way to fix perimeter defense is good too.
What's the last blowout?
Well, Brooklyn. But before that,
Brooklyn wasn't a blowout though. It was a close game all the way for a while. It ended up being, but the first 3 quarters wasn't a blowout.
I think that's kind of been their move this year, at least the last 15 games or so, is when they lose it, it's late. And then when it gets bad, it gets really bad.
We don't know how to win games.
Come on. They don't. Yeah.
Right.
And this is just, I think it really does come down a lot to the backcourt when other teams can just get by your perimeter defenders at will and break your defense down so much. And then you can't get easy baskets because teams are locked in on the other side. That's when those games seem to like get away from them. So if I'm Wes, like one of the rotation changes I would make, I don't know if DeLon Wright is ever coming back at this point. This is the longest like quad strain or whatever this thing is. I forget what the injury even is. It's been so long. I think it's a quad. I want to say, if somebody in the chat, if you remember, let me know. I can't even remember. It's been so long since he's been out.
Right, working on the trade.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'm good. That quad strain. Sometimes it's a pride strain.
Sure.
That quad strain is sometimes a pride strain. Hey, let me get out of here. I'm not being respected on this team. I feel like I'm better than Tyus. Blah 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 blah. Let me go somewhere where So let me just hold on to the injury. Let me stay on the injury.
It never makes no sense in the chat. It said sprained left knee. Okay, I was wrong then. Not a quad, but still, haven't heard any real updates on this in a while. I don't know severity. It seems, again, not a doctor. Don't know what a sprained knee timetable typically is.
When they stop talking about it, that means he's sticking with the injury.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that would be the guy, though. Like, that's who I would start next to Poole. I know people said we got to start Bilal, whatever. But I think DeLon Wright is the guy on the perimeter that could actually lock some of these guys down. And then you bring Tyus off the bench.
You start him next to Poole?
Yeah, I would start him next to Poole.
And take out who? Tyus?
Tyus, yeah. I'd let Tyus, run the second unit.
Tyus is less turnover prone.
Tyus is definitely less turnover prone, but we're getting cooked.
Tyus put up more. Yeah, you think talk about defensively, right?
We're getting cooked defensively.
But what do you take? Which one do you take? Offense or defense?
I think for the starting unit, I would definitely take the defensive upgrade just to put him next to Poole. You don't need the other offensive player, and your bench unit has actually been performing pretty well relative to other bench units. I think Tyus could juice that up even more. So your starters are at a net negative. Okay, well, let's try to win the bench minutes at least a little bit more often. I think it would just be a better balance, personally. I would try it. I'm not saying that it'll solve anything. I think this team is bad regardless, but, there's got to be
putting up Tyus that first quarter. He at least putting up 6 points first quarter.
His offensive stats are great. I mean, but they're not going to bench.
And so now you got to figure out what's the trade-off.
Right.
NBA today is about how many points you put up.
I realize that, but when the other team is guaranteed to put up other points with that backcourt, we've seen 20 games now to know that pairing together does not work. Got to be something different. I don't care what it is. I would try everything else other than this.
Yeah.
It's just I can't watch 20 more games of that Jahadi. I'm a dog shit defender against other slow middle-aged men, and I'm like, how? There's this clip the other night of Poole just standing there like this, like he got frozen as someone just walks around him to the hoop, and you're like,
he didn't care, and then he put his hands up.
Yeah, he thought the guy pushed off or something, but
it didn't matter.
No, he got lightly brushed. I mean, I know basketball's not a contact sport, but it's a contact sport.
Defensive end whatsoever. They just don't care. It's literally now they don't care.
Yeah, there's no.
I feel like you can hold Tyus to some sort of accountability if he didn't go. But what about him?
Yeah, exactly. There's no when Poole can do that shit and never get benched. If I'm Tyus, there's nothing you can tell me at this point.
Right.
Any changes to the rotation you would make? Like anybody that isn't playing? Like honestly, even if you started Shamet, I mean somebody different.
I would start Shamet.
I kind of like it, to be honest with you. Like I've liked Landry Shamet's minutes a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, I like how effective Shamet can be, and he plays with a hunger, a desperation.
There's a little edge there, yeah.
Yeah, a little edge, yeah.
I like that.
So, and to me, I don't feel like we got any edge in our starting five.
Nope.
And when you have somebody that brings edge, it kind of it's effective. It goes, it's infective and it's infectious and go all the way through the other players.
Denny's probably the most fiery guy of the starting five, and even we've seen a lot less of that this year too, which I think in some ways is a good thing from a maturity standpoint because he would kind of have outbursty stuff in past years. But I'd like to see, to your point, like the one guy that MFers people to the point that it gets everybody else kind of juiced up. There's just none of that.
Can Denny be the MFer guy though?
I don't know.
Remember,
I mean,
people know Denny from last year too.
yeah.
Where he was kind of going through the confident roller coaster.
That's true.
So anybody who understood Denny from last year was there last year. I don't know if he's capable of MFing them too much.
Yeah, I
Right.
agree. He's not going
Sometimes
to
you
be.
meet a guy, you like, oh damn, I didn't. Shevin it's not. Sometimes you got to be the MFer. Not because you're making the most money. Shevin to me can just be an MFer type of guy.
Yeah, somebody has to be the rock the boat guy.
Yeah, and that's to me just a nice team. We don't have a rock the boat type of guy. We don't have a guy who's willing to throw shit in the locker room.
Right. Yeah. Somebody that plays enough that it means something and could come in and it's got enough standing in the league. Like we hear about Anthony Gill's leadership, but he's not coming in and flipping over card tables or whatever. Like
right.
Danilo Gallinari is not the guy coming in and like ripping all the stuff out of his locker.
Right.
It just, so who is it? I think that's a great question.
Have it. The guy who it should be, is Kuzma.
I think so, and he's been like the nice big brother type for most of this team.
And you got to stop. You got to stop putting his arms around guys and start, God rest his soul, but start Kobeing people.
Right? Yeah. We need a little of that, or a lot of that. Like, that would go a long way, I think, because Wes isn't that guy. Like, I think sometimes your coach can probably give you a little of that kind of juice.
Well, the coach guy can give you a lot.
Right.
If the coach is a truly hard-nosed type of person, either he can. Teams take on their coach's personality a lot, especially young teams, right? The coach is a hard-nosed type of, that type of person. No cut cards. Push. Your young guys are really going to absorb that. Right, you can get some people to run through walls for you. So to me, it starts off with the coach. If the coach is willing to fight, sometimes the coach got to be willing to fight a player. Go and get in his face, man to man. It's like, all right, let's throw basketball aside. You soft.
Yeah.
You selfish. You sensitive.
This is our Jerry Stackhouse pitch, exactly. By the way, like that would be imagine him in the locker room with these guys like that. I mean,
anybody got a problem with it? Step up right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Things have changed.
Yeah.
Now it's now a matter of demand this respect now. This is how it is. And if you want to challenge it, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Can you?
It's nice from top to bottom.
Does that have to be your personality? Like, if you don't naturally have that, is it believable to your teammates when you can? Like, anyone just try to be that guy?
You have to stand on something. Okay. You can't be afraid as a coach to speak the truth. That's the thing. Like, T. Lue is a nice guy, right?
Sure.
But he respected because he don't care about telling you the truth. He's gonna laugh with you, but he's gonna tell you the truth. And nothing is respected more than somebody who's gonna tell you the truth and tell you exactly where you stand.
And it's not a personal attack, I think, when it's coming from him. Like guys can take that at face value.
But as soon as a coach plays around that and start tap dancing around that and going to other guys or whatever, he loses respect instantly, and he can't gain it back. So in the NBA is about men. It's a men's league. It's all men. It's no kids.
This is the Ime Udoka effect, right? Like, come in and just like, I'm rolling my sleeves up and like, who wants to go? Like,
right. It call somebody a bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and imagine if he called LeBron that and soft on the sideline. Imagine what he's saying in the locker room.
Exactly. If I'm Jayshawn Tate on the locker room, and I didn't just box out, I'm looking away from coach. I'm not making eye contact.
Right. I mean, sometimes this is what I realized a long time ago in this game. A coach can sometimes get out of you what you haven't been able to get out yourself yet. And sometimes he may get it out of you in the worst way possible.
Mm-hmm.
You may leave that locker room steaming, upset, like the worst you ever been.
Yeah, you need that sometimes, though.
But you'll go on the court and start and dig deeper than you ever have done, like you personally been able to.
Yeah.
Right? And it's mostly because you're playing now. You're not playing because of what the coach did. You playing tough because of what the consequences may be if you don't.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So sometimes you may not be playing for yourself. You saying, well, it'll be what I would face would be worse if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens in that process is you just learn something about you.
Yeah,
right?
true.
You learn another level. You learn, it's another wall I can break through.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's about pushing the right buttons for the right guys too. Like not everyone can take it that way, I don't think. And you got to know who can respond to what kind of thing. I mean, that's always been my take is like some guys need tough love. Other guys, it's not going to work with them. Like it just, you got to be able to kind of assess who needs what when. And I don't know if any of that stuff is happening with this team. I don't know that it's not. I'm not speaking on Wes. It's just, it's got to come from somewhere. I think that's all we're saying.
There's nobody's challenging their starting position. If you say, hey, look, it's your last game. If you don't show up, you're not dominant, you don't give me this much, you don't be a team player this, starting next game, so-and-so will have your position. You'll be done.
Yeah, we'll find somebody that can.
Watch how that players play.
Yeah. And then I don't know if that lasts, like how long that effect lasts, but you at least get a couple good games out of them, I would think.
You'll get a lot of good games out of them.
Yeah.
Or it's either you're gonna get a lot of good games out of him, you're gonna get a much harder player, or he's gonna quit on you.
Right, and then you know who to move. Then that guy's not about it. He can go.
That's just as informative as anything.
Exactly. I was playing a tennis tournament with a buddy one time, and the guy I'm playing doubles with is also like one of the best prep school basketball coaches of all time, right? And we were getting our asses kicked, and he just looks at me and he goes, at some point, are you going to stop playing like absolute dog shit? And I was like, whoa, okay. Like, all right, that's real. And I was so pissed at him. I was like, we ended up winning the rest of the match. But like, I needed that at that moment. And I didn't know I needed that. Like, but when you coach people for a living and you're good at it, you know what guys need what things when. Some guys might need tough love. Some guys might need kid gloves.
And some players love that type of coach. Some players can't handle it.
Yep.
Yeah. Some players love it. We had a coach with the Wizards. He came in kind of temporary coach. He coaches at the University of Little Rock now, Arkansas.
Oh,
I don't know why his name is
head coach.
Yeah, he was head coach. Yep. Start with a D.
Let's see. I'm getting old, but if I can't remember all the Wizards coaches.
I just talked to him on the phone. Man.
Let's see here. Darryl Walker?
Darryl Walker. D. Walker.
Yeah.
D. Walker was a MF. He told Ike, Austin, you stealing money, you get the fuck out of my gym. We can fight right here. They ready. D. Walker told everybody like it is. I was so used to coaches kind of, it was tough for me. I'm not lying. It was tough for me because I had to get used to a coach like D. Walker again. I haven't seen a coach like him for a long time, especially not in the NBA.
Yeah.
But it was players on the team who loved it.
Okay,
like, finally. The vets, some vets finally. Now we have a coach like I'm used to playing against. Guys who played with Pop.
Right. Or their college coach did that.
When D. Walker came in, that's what, because He said everything exactly like it is. He didn't have a filter. He didn't have a cut card filter. You playing like a bee. Or you in practice, he was like, hey, practice is gonna be this time. I gotta get home and watch my soap operas. I gotta watch my soap operas. We gotta go hard, blah, blah, blah. And so even then, when he walked into practice, he's gonna tell you like it is.
I like that.
You know, he tell the kid, hey, you were stealing money at your other team.
That's funny.
You don't come over here and make some money or what? Because you like it just like that. You sensitive. You soft.
Can you do that today in today's NBA?
You
with
need
players?
to. Yeah. I believe me, it's coaches who do that. I don't know if there's a new coach now.
That's tougher, I would think. Yeah.
But
Ime did that, right? Like that's the example. I mean,
he did.
So somebody,
but also Ime could because he already knew the players too.
Yeah, he'd been there and kind of knew who.
Yeah, and that's the best way to be. So they already respected him because he probably came in as the guy who, like, he's a keep it real guy. Mm-hmm. And if you're the assistant keep it real guy, guys run to you then.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, they probably hadn't. So when it's time for it, like, you're going to make, we need to keep it real guy to be now the head coach.
You know this person better than I do, so you tell me if I'm wrong here. But I feel like Jason Tatum is somebody who can definitely take that and may actually respond really well to that. Yeah. And if he takes it well, you know, the other guys are going to have to take it too.
Yeah, he wants that. Yeah. But if you see how tough the Celtics were when Ime was there, and then how the adjustment had to come with the new when the assistant came up, and they end up kind of getting softer a little bit, because you hold the personality of a coach a lot. That's the first one. You got a hard-nosed coach when things get tough. He can push you to be tough. A coach, you only gonna go as far as a coach can push you, no matter how talented you are. Sometimes.
In the chat,
you're that guy on the team that's playing.
You have to be.
Yeah.
A Kobe can do that or something, you know.
Right.
Joe Swam said in the chat, coaching comes from the word stagecoach, taking a person from where they are to where they want to go. It starts with being honest about where we want to go. Want to win here? Here's what it looks like. Joe, I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that that's not happening here, but it doesn't feel like that's the vibe of anybody is like being pushed, you know, in this is where we need to go, and the accountability word is going to be the biggest thing for this team all season.
Right. Optimism on every team at the beginning of the season.
Sure.
Every team is optimistic.
Yep. We heard all about the chemistry of this team in the offseason.
I think you got to treat your team, no matter how great your team is or how mediocre it is. You got to stick by your principles and your core, and you got to fight for them as a coach.
Yeah. If you don't uphold the standard, no one else is
right. When you stop fighting for them, like, you got to fight to the death for all of them, and it's gonna turn some players away. Some players are gonna dislike it, but what happens is either way, a common goal forms after a while. Either they all gonna get together and hate you together, or and still play well because they hate you together, or they're gonna go into your philosophy and do it that way. But either way, you can't leave options.
I think that requires your front office to back you on that too. And if you're a new front office with an incumbent coach, I'm not saying he's a lame duck necessarily, but I do think that plays some amount of weight into this too, of just you're a defensive minded coach and guys are playing huge minutes that don't defend at all. So what do you stand for? I mean, that's how I would look at that if I were other players.
So what do we do? So say, for instance, the season keeps going this way, and we end up kind of pretty much, you know, a losing season, big time losing season. Yeah. What options do we have in the draft?
In the draft?
Or did we give away any?
So we owe our pick to the Knicks if it falls outside the top 12. I can promise you this pick will not fall outside the top 12. So they're going to end up with the top 4 pick, essentially.
Mm. Just wondering, what their thought process is ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you have to start that thought process early once you realize certain things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think this group gets that they probably need that top pick / talent infusion, and they're going to coach, or they're going to build the roster accordingly. People that think they're going to make upgrades at the trade deadline to win a few more games, or we need a center because we want this team to get better. Like, I would not hold my breath for that. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, me neither.
Jahadi, the last thing I want to talk to you about here too is just this Chase Hughes articles on Bilal Coulibaly, which again, everybody go to Monumental Sports Network, look at Chase's most recent feature on Coulibaly. I thought it was awesome, and there's just great stuff in here. I'm going to read a little bit to everybody, so sorry in advance, but it says Coulibaly. This is Chase writing about Coulibaly. The rookie has become entrenched in watching film, looking for cues on how to improve. Veteran Kyle Kuzma told him to watch as much of it as possible, and he's fallen headfirst into the practice. When Coulibaly watches games back, he notices moments where if he just tried a little bit harder, it might have changed the play. For a player whose effort isn't being questioned by anyone, Coulibaly expects more of himself. The more he learns what going the extra mile can mean at the NBA level. More sprinting, running a little bit more in transition, everything. Even if I'm not open, someone's going to follow me. So if it opens up something for somebody else when I look at film, it seems like I could sprint a little bit more, Coulibaly said. Coulibaly isn't only watching himself when he studies Wizards games. He says he keeps a keen eye on Kuzma whenever he's on the court. Coulibaly sees his future in Kuzma, who at 28 years old is putting up career numbers this season. I watched the whole game to see how he plays. There's a lot to take. He's been talking to me a lot about eventually going through the guy when going up for the layup. He's got some great advice for me. And one of the things Coulibaly talked about is how he wants to add strength because he can just attack guys more. Instead of going around him, he can go through them. It gives him more options. I love everything in this article. So if you like the Wizards, again, I would implore you to read it. But I also think that's another reason why they're not going to trade Kuzma. You hear from Coulibaly directly how much that is meant for him. That's not coming from a coach. That's not coming from anybody else in the locker room. It's the guy that's like, do this. Like, this is what you need to do to be a pro. And we hear all about all the veteran leadership. We need a Taj. We need a Gallinari. We need an Anthony Gill. I don't hear anybody saying, well, Anthony Gill taught me about film study. So, this is the kind of guy I think you want leading your locker room from that perspective, at least.
With the NBA today, they're not going to save Kuzma to save Coulibaly.
Oh, yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. If there's a great deal, they're going to take it. But I'm just saying I wouldn't be in a hurry to get rid of him.
I don't think you should be.
Yeah.
But I think the information and the growth of Coulibaly, one thing I know about Coulibaly is he's dissecting everything.
Yeah, you can see the process.
He's dissecting everything for his growth. He's sitting there just being a sponge, soaking every moment up, taking the time to study. Like, he's not a player who just cool and comfortable with his growth and saying, okay, let me grow naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's learning every moment. He's a sponge for information right now. And it's a difference between a sponge for information and a sponge for information and goes out and regurgitates it right away and tries it out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the difference between most players will work on stuff all day and everything they need to grow. But when it comes game time, they're scared to try it out.
Yeah.
Right. Kuzma sees that. And I think Kuzma sees a lot of himself in Coulibaly. Because think about Kuzma when he was with LA. He's a different player than he was now.
Yeah. Staying in the corner.
His growth came from just sitting there watching LeBron James all day.
He talked about it. LeBron and Rondo were the two biggest guys for his development. And he said Rondo was the one kicked him in the ass and said, watch film. Film.
Exactly. So, I think I agree with what you're saying. He's perfect for that situation because he saw the best. It's not that he has so much information to give, but he's teaching how to learn the information.
Exactly. The things you have to do to maximize.
Major, because most people don't understand. They don't They don't learn how to learn it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So now when you and he's teaching, like, okay, like you say, go through the body. He's not saying, hey, your first step is too slow, work on your dribbling. He's saying like the small intangible things that mean so much.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I watched you all the way to the point you got to the body.
Yeah.
When you got to the body, you hesitate. You try to avoid it. Don't avoid the body. Go through it. So I think only person who can really who can really get that information that's on the team, not the staff, but on the team, is Kuzma, and it's valuable information.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know if the team has sacrificed him just because of.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You got to do what you got to do. If you get 3 first-round draft picks for him, they're going to pack his bags.
Because
and
they don't care about the vets anymore. So that's the reason why I'm saying it. Will it be smart too? Maybe. But will they? I mean, and then, they got to free up that money.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the unfortunate nature of today's NBA. You hear from a lot of these younger teams how much having 40-year-old Vince Carter on the bench, meant for them and stuff like that. Like guys they can learn from directly. Some other kind of good sections of this article. Coulibaly talked about guarding Luka. Every time I was guarding him, I was learning something new every single play. I was like, "Oh, I like that. I'll keep doing that every game." And on the offensive end, Coulibaly's displayed more than Wes Unseld Jr. or anyone else anticipated, especially as a three-point shooter. Coulibaly recently admitted he didn't even expect to be shooting as well as he is. It's not to say it's by accident. In fact, Coulibaly made several changes to his shooting mechanics late in the offseason in between the draft and training camp. Coulibaly was working out in Dallas with his trainer, Tim Martin, and Wizards assistant coach, Mike Miller, and they began the process of working on his footwork. They wanted to make sure at least one foot is nailed to the ground before the catch just to be able to sustain his balance and making sure his movements are more fluid as he's getting into his release. He said, I've got big hands, so it was tough at the beginning, but now I get it. The shot is just much more natural for me. He was putting his left hand, his offhand, in front of the ball when he shot. Now he holds it from the side, allowing him to better guide the ball towards the basket with his right hand. Once the changes were installed, it took a good deal of repetition to master them. Of course, over the course of the 2 months leading up to his NBA season, he took as many shots as possible to develop muscle memory. This dude puts in work. He's coachable. He's listening. They're not making wholesale changes like whatever happened with Johnny Davis. It's your hand is here. Now it's slightly here. Rep that thing out. And I love it. I just want more of this. Can we draft 10 more Coulibalys? That's all I want. Is that too much to ask?
What he's saying, though. Think about it's not rocket science what he's saying.
Yeah.
It's how zoned in is what he's saying. I think if you it's how he's explaining it. He's explaining it in a way that you understand the depth of what he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
It's not a 19-year-old thing like this.
Man. What he's seeing and how he's explaining that is like a veteran coach who's understanding basketball as a science.
Yeah.
Like he's almost like how he's dissecting every piece and regurgitating into. You don't hear vets talk like that.
No, you have to be like a junkie, like a real addict of basketball to be like, oh, I learned something every play and I'm taking that to heart. Like that's refreshing to hear.
Honestly. Right. It's to the point I'm literally gonna say, hey man, send me that exact article.
I will. Yeah.
Because you can use how he perceives the game and how he perceives his work and how he perceives getting better and all the little small things. You can use that to any form in life. You can use it in basketball. You can be a motivational speaker, take Coulibaly interview into a tech class or a company, a tech company, and work on team, just focus.
It's true.
That type of focus to get better is different.
It's true. Honestly, it's not just him. I think a lot of the guys we're seeing do well, especially as rookies, are the guys that when you watch them are like, that is a basketball junkie. Like that's the dude that's going to put in the time to process. He wants to learn. There are certain guys, the best players in the league, and sometimes you can maybe a guy's lip service when he says it, but when you hear like Dave Lillard, he watched every other NBA game that happened, on his off night or whatever, or between he's playing one night, 10 other games are going on. The next day he's watched all 10 games. Like those are the kind of dudes that
60-70% of their day.
Yeah, exactly.
It's figuring it out.
Yep. There was a thing while Scott Brooks was still here that they had a players only meeting after Brooks had called a bunch of guys out because no one on the team on their own went and watched film. Too many guys were focused on video games was the Scott Brooks quote, if I'm getting most of that right. Like, who are the guys that, like, when they have free time are choosing to still be watching basketball? That's who I want a team full of.
Yeah. And it's not work.
Right.
They're not doing
what they
say,
want
oh,
to
I
be
got
doing.
to, or
Yeah.
That's exactly what they want to do.
Yep.
Like, they can't wait. I got to watch. They obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be maniacal. You got to be obsessed. Just of getting better, which not most part of your day is based on your obsession.
Yep. Yeah. And that you always hear about like what teams are looking with players when they interview them pre-draft and things like that. However, you assess that guy is going to be that kind of way. Like if you have an off day, what are you doing? Oh, I'm watching every basketball game on the slate tomorrow. Okay, yes, I'll be taking you with the number 7 pick in the draft.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
All right, we just fixed it. I think if Michael Winger and Will Dawkins are watching this, you now know what to do, guys. You got one. We need like 11 more of them.
Exactly. Those guys you can grow with.
Yeah, exactly. That's who you want to go to war with too, right? Like, because they will have seen it all at that point too.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, I think that's all I got for you here. Really, anything you want to wrap us with or anything?
No, I'm good.
Hopefully everybody liked that. Hopefully it was not as focused on any of the less exciting parts of the last game. And they got a couple winnable-ish ones coming up, I think, here. The problem is they're going to be on the road here coming up next week. So I don't know. For us East Coasters, going to be some late nights if we want to catch some of these games. But Portland comes up in the pretty reasonably near future here. That's a winnable game. You might not win another game for a while if you don't get that one. So I'm excited to see how they look during that matchup.
All right.
Thanks, partner. Good stuff as always. I love that Darrell Walker one. I'm going to pull that out for everybody. Folks, appreciate y'all listening. Rate, review, subscribe, all the good stuff. Click the little like button for us. We always appreciate that. Tell a friend. And we're presented by betonline.ag, and we'll catch y'all next time.